Hello everyone, it's Leanne here. I'll be taking you through some of the key things I want you to consider before Field Studies 2. Unfortunately, things have changed a little bit, so I can't be in the room with you. However, I've prepared our PowerPoint slides that are narrated. We've got all of our resources up, and I will also be giving you some indication about things I want you to do beyond getting prepared as well. So I'm very excited about the weeks that are coming up for all of us. Our single days will be starting next week, and therefore I have got your overview of the 3 days that I want you to be, 3 days, single days, up on our Blackboard site, as well as your introduction letter to your teachers. Our learning intentions for this session are that you'll be able to understand the expectations that I have set up for you in our 3 single days that lead up to the 6-week block. I'm going to take you through the progression table, the activities that build up to your 15 days continuous teaching, and I'll also look very closely at the Field Studies report and unpack some of those more common issues around those expectations that you'll be looking at. During our session today, we'll be looking at the key expectations that we have of you in this final prac. The first one is to demonstrate you are aware of your own learning needs, to be critically reflective about how you're going with your own practice, and to be highly proactive in seeking alternative solutions. That may mean doing some reading or Google searching or sitting in on other people's classrooms to watch how they adapt or manage this particular issue, or even seeking advice from more experienced teachers on staff. The next expectation we have of you during this prac is that you will be writing unit plans. Now, with C2C in place, it may mean that you are implementing or adding your own flair or ideas to the C2C plans that have been provided to you. We're expecting that you will do this at least across 2 different KLAs. Finally, one of the major expectations is that you will teach up to 15 days continuously. That is not 15 days full time, but up to 50% of your teaching load, which is 14 hours. Sorry, that was supposed to be 14 hours per week. Okay, so we're coming up into these 3 single days, and you're starting to think about how you're going to approach this with your teachers. So I've provided you with an overview of expectations of single days, which appear on our Blackboard site at the moment. You need to take the letter of introduction and your pre-service teacher information sheet, which basically gives them your contact details, and a copy of the overview. Now, the expectations you need to go over so that they're very clear is that you're only teaching 15 days at 50% load, that you're going to take responsibility for planning units across 2 KLAs, and you also need to identify and discuss the lesson that you're going to teach the very next week. You need to find out info about your playground supervisions, when staff meetings are occurring, are there any additional PD or other activities you're going to have expectations around attending. Also talk about how you're going to introduce yourself to your wider school community. Certainly there's other things that you will need to be thinking about as well, such as the day-to-day planning, the day-to-day running of the class. So if they've got units that the students have just gone through, see if you can get hold of that. If they've got class profiles or learning profiling or behavioural profiling, ask if you can have a look at that. Make sure you grab the school behaviour management plan or any other school documentation off the website and ask for a class timetable. On this first day, expect to be put to work. You may be asked to work with individuals or small groups. You may be asked to take a small section of a lesson. You may even be asked to plan and teach a 30-minute lesson. Be willing, be ready to act on your feet, because any of these things can happen. In terms of observations in this week, I expect you to do two. One, complete the checklist of becoming familiar with your classroom. This is up on your Blackboard site to access. And to start your student profiling in terms of learning. Obviously, on day two, your single day two, you'll be taking back your observations and reflections that you took on day one. Now, it's really important that you are explicit that you have them with you. You need to ask your teacher if they would like to look over them or discuss them with you, because we want to see this cycle of professional and reflective practice starting right from word go. The list that covers the rest of the 3 days is quite self-explanatory, and all of the other resources are up in our week 6 folder for you to access and use as we lead into our 6-week block. Okay, I now turn to our progression table that outlines what you're expected to be doing during your 6-week practicum. So we start off, as we did previously, with at least 2 lessons of observation per day. Now, these could be lessons or activities such as student profiling for learning. These observations, of course, will as your teaching load increases as you go through, and I would be expecting that they'd probably drop off altogether by about week 4 or week 5. You will be working with individuals and small groups, but I would see, because this is your final practicum, that this would start but finish by the first 8 days, that you would then be moving immediately into teaching the entire class. That you would be teaching short, very short bursts of 10 to 15 minutes, up to 10 or 15 of these in those first 8 days, giving you an opportunity to build some confidence with the students, but also some consistency by team teaching, perhaps with your host teacher, or doing the introduction or wrap up of the day or of the lesson. So basically it's an opportunity to be working with your teacher and gaining confidence in very short, intense bursts. Our other expectation is that you will start taking complete lessons involving the whole class, moving up to taking up to a 50% load, or 14 hours per week. Now, that 50% load is the load that you are planning for. They are deliberate lessons. They are consciously integrated into your units. The 50% load does not count walking the kids down to PE, collecting them after lunch, marking homework. Those day-to-day things are just part of the work that you will do as a teacher. The 50% load is aimed at your lessons that you are planning. The next element that contributes to how you go with this work is unit planning. And as I have said, we're expecting across 2 KLAs, or key learning areas. We're expecting that you may plan in collaboration with either your host teacher or another peer who's on prac. And if you are using C2C documentation, then of course you're going to add your flair with formative assessment, resources, the sequencing of your lessons. You're going to bring in things that have not been considered, or you're going to add some very creative elements to the way that you present it. Professional activities for us while you're out on field studies, of course, is what the school deems appropriate. If it's a parent night or a community barbecue or a working bee, get involved. Finally, of course, the key things I want you to keep in the front of your mind about field studies too is the fact that it is a very prolonged opportunity for a job interview. The level of organisation, the way your folders are presented, the way you have things at hand, the way that you interact with the office staff, the groundsmen, the parents are all going to be taken into account. Beyond this, there are expectations I have that the teachers may not enforce with you. One, you must be reflecting on every lesson. It needs to be written, it needs to be formalised, you need to be able to have a conversation about it with the deputy or anyone else who walks through. You need to be demonstrating you can cater for the range of learners in the room, the bright bunnies, the children who are finishing first, the ones that are struggling, or any other learning disabilities that you need to work within. It is not enough to put them at the side of the class. You need to have something planned. Assessment. Your information that you will be collecting, the data that you're collecting, you have to be able to discuss how that informs your planning, how that informs the way that you are engaging with the students, and how you know they have actually achieved what you set out for them to learn in each lesson. Finally, you will notice at the very bottom of our slide here that EQ applications, I've left that up there because things may change. It is very unlikely that we will see you being offered interviews or anything else beyond the application that you upload, but keep your ear to the ground. Last year, as I have said, things changed midpoint, but I've also directed you to continue to read the website.